Bria Hartley just got instant karma, bro. She out for the season. The most dirtiest player in the WNBA contract has been written, bro. And I'm here to tell you, she's out for the season. Yes, you heard me correctly.
It doesn't get more dramatic than this. One moment, fans were furious, calling for punishment and demanding the league step in. The next, the so-called villain of the story, Bria Hartley, suddenly found herself sidelined for the rest of the season. And here's where things get crazy. This wasn't just any random basketball. So when the Connecticut Sun announced she'd torn her meniscus and was officially out for the year, the timing was too uncanny to ignore. Even people who usually hate speculating couldn't resist drawing the connection. On social media, fans joked about basketball justice and shared posts that screamed, "The universe took care of it." This is the kind of plot twist that grabs your attention and makes you wonder, what's really going on behind the curtain?
Bria Hartley sees Sophie's legs and says, "That's the direction I'm going to fall in." Even though she was getting defended from the right side, pushing her left, she decides to fall straight forward with a little bit of shoulder action, falling into Sophie Cunningham's knees. Bria Hartley is a dirty player. There's no other way to slice this cake.
To understand why fans saw Hartley's injury as cosmic irony, we have to go back to the moment that started it all. Picture this. Sophie Cunningham, one of the toughest, scrappiest pairs in the league, goes up strong, only to collide with Bria Hartley, on the court in visible pain. Cameras caught Bria Hartley with a smirk on her face. Call it a grin, call it a bad look caught at the wrong time. But to fans, it said one thing: intent. That single frame spread across social media within minutes. Suddenly, it wasn't just about Sophie's injury. It was about whether Hartley had taken her out on purpose. And once that image started circulating, there was no going back. Even when Sophie herself tried to downplay the collision, calling it just one of those basketball plays, the damage was already done. Fans weren't buying it. To them, that smirk was proof that Hartley wasn't just unlucky, she was malicious.
That, I was like, Bria and I are super cool, and she would never try to hurt me, because there are some girls that I think might, but she wouldn't do that. And so I have nothing but...
Well, Sophie, I got news for you. The universe thought otherwise. The universe thought otherwise. They got her ass up out of here, bro. Damn.
If there's one thing we know about the internet, it's that perception spreads faster than fact. And in this case, perception was everything. That photo of Hartley looking pleased, or at least unbothered right after Sophie went down, became the defining image of the incident. Fans reposted it with captions like, "This is who she really is," and "Caught red-handed." Some went as far as calling it the dirtiest play of the entire season, not because of the contact itself, but because of what they believed that smile revealed.
Yep, there she goes contorting, right? You see how she contorts her body and it looks like she's off balance, going left? How does she magically lower her shoulder into Sophie Cunningham's legs? Can somebody please explain that to me? Can somebody please explain those physics? Again, don't want to hear it, because this is a dirty player.
What made it worse was Hartley's reputation. This wasn't her first brush with criticism for overly physical play, so fans already had a mental file of evidence ready to stack against her. When the photo hit, it wasn't just seen as one moment of bad sportsmanship, it was Exhibit A in a long list of questionable behavior. Headlines ran wild. Comment sections flooded with demands for suspensions, and conversations turned ugly. Even when Sophie Cunningham herself believed they saw. And in this case, fans believed they saw a player laughing at another's pain. That's why the outrage was so strong. To fans, it wasn't about a tough play anymore. It was about character. And once your reputation shifts in that direction, it's nearly impossible. For yanking on braids, it looked blatant, and Reese's immediate reaction told you all you needed to know. That clip spread like wildfire, and people started to whisper, is Hartley just reckless? Or is she playing dirty on purpose? Then came the shove on Rebecca Allen, another incident that by itself might have been brushed off, but in combination with the Reese moment, there's one thing fans hate as much as dirty plays, it's the feeling that the league and the referees don't care. And in this case, that frustration exploded. The moment Sophie went down and replays started making the rounds, people weren't just angry at Hartley, they were angry at the officials, and by extension, the WNBA itself. Think about it. Sophie Cunningham gets fined earlier in the season for criticizing referees, yet Bria Hartley, after multiple physical confrontations, seems to skate by without consequences. To fans, it looked like a double standard, plain and simple.
Everyone's like, what is going on with the refs? And I'm like, I don't know. And you finding me $500 is not going to do.
You can punish a player for speaking out, but not for repeatedly making reckless contact that puts others at risk? That's the kind of inconsistency that drives people crazy. And it wasn't just fans saying this. Sophie's own family stepped into the conversation. Her sister Lindsay and her mom Paula openly blasted the league, questioning why referees weren't stepping in to protect athletes. Paula went even further, labeling Hartley as out of control and a player who brings trouble everywhere she goes. That's not just criticism from random fans, that's family, and their words carried weight.
Connecticut Sun guard Bria Hartley will miss the remainder of the season due to a meniscus tear in her right knee. Injury sustained during team practice. You got hurt at practice? Hartley is expected to make a full recovery. So you mean to tell me her own team hurt her? Oh my God. Her own team hurt her? Oh, man.
The Connecticut Sun released a statement. Bria Hartley had torn her meniscus during practice and would miss the remainder of the season. No suspension, no punishment from the league, just gone, out, finished. The timing couldn't have been more surreal. Instantly, fans connected the dots. Sophie Cunningham had just been ruled out for the season with her own torn knee ligament, and now Hartley, the player at the center of the controversy, was sidelined with almost the exact same fate. The reaction online was immediate. Posts flooded in, calling it instant karma, poetic justice, and even the basketball gods stepping in. Memes popped up comparing Sophie's injury to Hartley's, framing it as a cosmic balancing act. Of course, the league's official statement framed Hartley's injury as just another unfortunate setback, but fans didn't care about the official line, they cared about the irony. People joked, wonder if she's smirking now, and others flat out celebrated it as a form
Usually try to hurt me. And so I have nothing but love for Bria.
that level of grace, especially while the way she carried herself through the chaos. Of course, while Sophie herself tried to cool things down, her family and the fans weren't about to let it slide. Her sister Lindsay and her mom Paula became some of the loudest voices calling out the WNBA for its lack of protection. They pointed out the hypocrisy. Sophie gets fined for criticizing referees, yet Hartley walks away from multiple incidents without discipline. Paula didn't mince words either, calling Hartley out of control and saying she brings trouble everywhere she goes. That's a mother defending her daughter with full force, and fans ate it up. Online, the backlash only grew. The smirk photo became a meme, comment sections filled with fans demanding suspensions, saying things like, if this was the NBA, she'd already be gone for the season. The anger wasn't just about Hartley anymore, it was about the league itself. Fans felt like the WNBA was failing to protect their players, prioritizing fines and PR control over actual safety. And when the league stayed quiet, even as the controversy snowballed, it only fueled the perception that they were complicit. Meanwhile, Sophie fans as the furious jury, and Sophie as the resilient hero caught in the middle. Sports don't need scripts when reality plays out like this. It was storytelling gold, and everyone watching knew it. Here's the part that got lost in all the chaos. Even without Sophie Cunningham, the Indiana Fever refused to fold. Most teams would have crumbled under the weight of so many setbacks, injuries piling up, controversy swirling, and the emotional gut punch of losing one of their toughest players. But not this group. Instead, they rallied, and the players who stepped up turned this season into something fans couldn't ignore. Kelsey Mitchell, for example, went off for 38 points in a single game against the Connecticut Sun, the very team Hartley played for. That performance wasn't just impressive, it was a statement. It earned her Eastern Conference Player of the Week honors and reminded everyone that the Fever had firepower even without Sophie on the floor. Then there was Lexi Hull, who quietly slid into a leadership role. She wasn't filling the box score with crazy numbers, but she was holding the team together, showing that toughness and resilience don't always come from the stat sheet.
And let's not forget Aaliyah Boston, who continued to battle inside with a relentless energy that set the tone for everyone else. Even shorthanded, the Fever proved they weren't just a team of names on a roster, they were a unit with fight, grit, and a refusal to let circumstances define them. Of course, all eyes were also on Caitlin Clark. The team played it cautious with her, giving only day-to-day updates on her return, but fans knew what her comeback could mean. Imagine adding one of the biggest names in the sport back into a lineup that had already been tested and hardened by adversity. Suddenly, the narrative shifted from season loss to what if they pull this off? And that's the thing about resilience. It doesn't just keep a team afloat, it builds belief. The Fever may have lost Sophie on the court, but her spirit of toughness spread through the roster. Every hustle play, every gritty possession, every extra effort was a reflection of her influence. This wasn't just survival, it was transformation. The Fever were writing a new identity, one forged in adversity and carried by determination. When the dust settles, Bria Hartley's injury will be remembered as one of the wildest twists of the season. The timing, the irony, the instant karma narrative, it's the kind of storyline that sports fans live for. But here's the truth. Hartley's season-ending injury isn't the legacy that lasts. The real story here is Sophie Cunningham.
Even sidelined with a torn MCL, Sophie showed exactly why fans love her. She didn't whine, she didn't beg for sympathy, she stood tall. She balanced grace with fire, showing forgiveness on one platform and defiance on another. She proved she could be both a competitor and a role model, someone who doesn't hold grudges, but also refuses to back down. And that duality made her more relatable, more inspiring, and more respected than ever before. Meanwhile, the Fever kept grinding. They didn't let the controversy or the setbacks define them. Instead, they found new leaders, leaned into their resilience, and started to look like a team capable of surprising everyone. And with Caitlin Clark waiting in the wings, the story isn't about what they lost, it's about what they're building. Fans will debate forever whether Hartley's injury was coincidence, karma, or just bad luck. But what can't be debated is this. The drama cemented Sophie Cunningham as the heart of her team and one of the toughest personalities in the league. Even when she wasn't on the court, she became the centerpiece of the conversation, the player everyone wanted to root for. And that's the beauty of sports. Sometimes the league doesn't need to hand out suspensions and referees don't need to blow the whistle. Sometimes the story writes itself in a way that's bigger than any official decision. Hartley's smirk, Sophie's grace, the outrage, the irony, and the resilience of an entire team, it all blended into a season narrative nobody could have scripted.
So when people look back, they won't just remember Hartley's meniscus tear or Sophie's MCL.